Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone. So these events are meant to be open and accessible to everyone. You do not need to have physics education research experience. Physics education research is PER. You just need to be curious and join us. This event is organized by the OPTYC PER interest group of OPTYCs. OPTYCs is the organization for physics at two-year colleges, funded by NSF and supported by AAPT. The OPTYC PER interest group is led by Karine Diff, Anthony Esquadro, Sherry Savradar, and me, Glenda De Nicolo. At the end of the meeting today, we'll be asking you to complete a participation evaluation form. The link will be posted towards the end in the chat. So please complete that so that we can always improve and we can keep offering interesting events for our TYC community. Let me already share my screen here. So we would like to advertise the some upcoming events for that OPTYCs is organizing. So as you can hopefully see here, there will be a virtual workshop about team up together with TYCs on March 11. Another virtual workshop on mechanics and electromagnetism assessment tools on March 31st. And one more virtual workshop on April 22nd about interactive video tutorials. This summer, 2023, we'll be hosting a TYC tandem meeting in tandem with the AAPT summer meeting. And the deadline for submission is on April 14th. Please check out more about this, the tandem meeting at the OPTYCs website or at the AAPT website. This is an important gathering for TYC faculty across the country, the tandem meeting. So today we have the privilege of hosting three awesome panelists, and here's their short bio. We have Rebecca Lindell, who has more than 25 years experience in physics and astronomy education research. She is the founder of Tiliadal, I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Pretty close, Tiliadal.
Tiliadal, STEM Education, Solutions for Higher Education. Rebecca is an award-winning curriculum developer and is best known for her research on conceptual learning assessment to instruments. She's an active advocate for disabled physicists concerning their accessibility issues. And finally, Rebecca is one of the organizers of the PER conference this summer 2023. Abigail Dane is a professor at South Seattle College, which is a TYC, where she teaches physics, math, and social justice in STEM. I will stop sharing, actually. This is ideal for you to see each other, right? So let's just see each other while I'm introducing everyone. So Abby is an active TYC PER researcher with a multi-level teaching perspective who works on curriculum development and publications focused on issues of equity and inclusion in the science classroom. Elizabeth Libby Shun, I hope I pronounced it well, is also a professor at South Seattle College, where she teaches physics and collaborates with Abby Dane in several PER projects. Both Abby and Libby have experience, either personal or reported from close colleagues, about PER collaborations between TYCs and four-year institutions. So today we have a set of 5 questions that we would like our panelists to address. before we even go to that, we would like to ask you to raise your hand if you have ever been to a PER conference. Right? We have about maybe half of the participants here have been to a PER conference. Could you raise your hand if you had a positive experience at a PER conference? Very positive experience. All right. Oh boy, less hands.
What did that go down to?
What happened? Did you have a particularly negative experience at a PER conference? Can you raise your arm? All right. We are opening Pandora's box a little bit right here at the beginning, let's say, proverbially or metaphorically here, and we'll talk more about this soon. We have 5 very interesting, good questions for our panelists that hopefully will address many of the things that are in everybody's minds at this point, and clarify many of the points, and then we'll open the discussion to everyone. So to the panelists, I will be alerting you at the 3-minute mark and the 5-minute mark. To stick to the schedule, I'll make sure nobody goes beyond the 5-minute mark, okay? And to the audience, after the panelists' initial contributions, we will open the forum to all, and we would like to especially to know of our OPTYC faculty the feedback about each of the topics discussed. All right, to our panelists, we will start with Rebecca in general, and we go Abby and Libby. Could you address what is PERC? Who is PERC for?
Well, PERC is the, I'm not sure so it's focusing. Change my view quickly. So the Physics Education Research Conference is a conference that's been held every year after the AAPT meeting, in the summer AAPT meeting, since 1997. The original group meeting of this happened in 1996 at the University of Maryland as an informal, just get together of the researchers and their graduate students. And those were the primarily people that attended the PERCs in the beginning. At some point in time, the PERC became a conference that was offered as a companion conference with AAPT. And at that point, some of the things had to be adjusted. One of the things I find interesting is that with the creation of the AAPT's PER topical group, that this is where our part of the community receives funding to run the PERC, among other things. So I am fully convinced, trying to convince others, that the PERC should be for the entire membership of the PER topical group. I was wondering really quickly, how many people are members of the PER topical group? Okay, can you guys do the, like Anthony just did, do the hands up that way? Okay.
We do have about 4. That's what I count here. 4 of
okay, thank you. I'm just having trouble seeing everything. Okay. But all of you are interested in PER. Is that correct? You're all here. So I would ask you, why haven't you joined the PER topical group? Maybe you don't realize it's for everybody who's interested in PER, not just for physics education researchers. We have people that are informed professors that come, who want to be informed instructors, teachers, things like that. We have people that are doing research. We also have people who want to learn how to do the research. How is it that if I'm a faculty member at a 2-year college or something, or a 4-year school or a high school or something, and you want to start doing PER, are you welcome there? Yes, you are. And so the PR or the PERC, excuse me, is held, as I said, held every year. This year, our focus of the PERC 23 is actually trying to work together to strengthen the PER community of practice, because we realized it can't just be a bunch of people working in the silos, that we need to start communications between ourselves and other community members that are closely aligned. As I said, I would assume everybody in this meeting would be somebody who would like to attend the PERC, well, hopefully would like to attend the PERC and also join the PER topical group.
3 minutes.
I think I'm done for now. Now for
Rebecca, you do have a total of 5 minutes, and eventually I would like you to address some of the things that are very interesting there, the new things that you are going to implement. You mentioned to us that you're planning to implement for this summer meeting.
Okay. What we are doing to build these communities and help us work together to strengthen it, we are introducing, the way that the PERCs normally run is that there are several plenary discussions, as well as which is like a single researcher coming up talking about their research or some such. And then there are also what we call parallel sessions, which are sort of breakout sessions on different areas of interest to different members of the PR community. What we do with the PERC is that the organizers choose this plenary speakers, and they work to try and get the word out and make an interesting conference. But majority of the breakout sessions, parallel sessions, all of that is submitted by the community. That they work together. Say, one of the things we're introducing for the first time this year is Community Connects or Community Connections. We haven't decided yet, which will be specialized times where communities, be it the community of, say, two-year college PR faculty, or two-year college people that are interested in PR, or people that are, say, solo PR, or people that are, oh, I'm a master's of arts in teaching. I'm a two-year college instructor, or excuse me, I'm a high school instructor. How do I get involved in this? Because I do research in physics education. Then, thank you, Mel. The other thing that we do is we're trying to provide the opportunities for us to sort of use the workshop times to participate in learning skills, demonstrating skills. Okay, there's my 5 minutes. I can talk your head off about everything we're planning.
Rebecca, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll go back to some of these later. Abby and Libby?
I feel like, so hi everyone. I'm sorry if my voice sounds funny today. I am getting over a cold. So my voice has been the thing that is the exciting fun part of it. So if I get excited and my voice goes up, I'll just sound like air. So anyway, I actually want to sort of combo this with Libby. So I started out as a graduate student in PER, and so I got to go to PERC with an advisor who is sort of leading me through the conference and other people who she introduced me to. And so I felt very welcomed initially into the PERC community because I had people who were taking me around, just like Chris made that suggestion in the chat about buddies. Like I felt like I had a safety net, and it was still pretty intimidating, right, to go into this space as a newcomer. So I think the folks working on PERC have been working to try and make spaces so like they've organized, dinners where you can sign up for a topic, so you don't have to know everyone and you start going in that way. But I feel like there's a lot of work to be done in PERC for mentoring people who are not integral parts of that community specifically. And so like Libby, as we started working together, I was like, come to this conference with me. And she was like, it's not my scene. I don't do PER. I'm a practitioner. And and I'm totally speaking for you, Libby, so correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, but I basically dragged her there. You know, she was hanging on by her teeth barely, kind of thing. I was just like, we're going, you know, and she was like, fine.
Welcome.
And what?
She did not feel welcome.
I don't know. That's a good question for you, Libby, actually. What was your impression at that point?
I mean, you're accurate that you kind of like cajoled me into going. Like I wasn't like, yay. I mean, it was a fun experience because I had you to kind of pal around with us. So I wasn't just left kind of meandering around sessions by myself, like everyone talking, kind of just wandering around going like, who do I talk to? But there was a few times when that happened too. And like, that's how I met Clazel, because he was kind of wandering around looking kind of lost as well. So like there's some other person that I connected with. But yeah, so I'd say it's not bad if you have someone that you feel like you can kind of meet up with throughout and can help you, you know, introduce you to other people, and kind of you can go around so you're not just kind of left by yourself wandering around. But it's been a few years now, so it was kind of a while back. It was pre-pandemic. And I think I would need a buddy again if I were to come again. Like I wouldn't feel like I could just jump in.
Good news is we have buddies planned for this year.
Ooh. I think also having a buddy who doesn't know along with you is like a thing that's really helpful, right? So like if we could figure out a way to get folks who are interested in going to PERC, thank you. I was going to say three people, that you could connect with like 2 or 3 other people where you're just, sort of committing to check in with each other and like maybe attend the first session together or choose, make those decisions, because a lot of times there's just like paralysis by analysis going on where it's like there are choices and I don't know which one to do and what's the right move in this space. And I still feel like that as a person who's been several times. So I also feel like there's a lot of, I guess the elephant in the room maybe is that a lot of university physics folk who are in PER are not very in tune with 2-year college folk. And so a lot of times there will be things that are said that are really, down on like different forms of teaching, right? And so like I think that there is a cultural difference between the 2 groups, and so like having those conversations explicitly, I think Chris is trying to set that up this summer to talk a little bit about the toxicity between the 2 factions is really important, and I think it'll really help build some bridges between people. And I'm cut off.
Abby, we'll have opportunities to go back to this. I want to, as we are going to the next question, Rebecca, I think I heard from you that the PERC is for both users or practitioners of PER results that apply in the classroom, etc., as well as people who are publishing and are producers of, say, PER. Is for both. But is
producers and consumers?
It's for both. But is it, so what type of papers are accepted to be presented at PERC? In other words, what is PER at PERC? Is it the practitioners and the users and their experience and their feedback, or real new physics education research material?
Yes. The way it works is that we open up the abstracts for the sessions, and we have these poster sessions. We have 3 different ones. The first one, you'll be happy to know, is for first-time PER people, or people that haven't, may have been people who have not been to the PERC in a long time, or have been sort of, but these first-timers, these people. And the other 2, so that's on Wednesday afternoon. One of them is on Wednesday evening, and then another one is on Thursday during the day. And what happens is we have a large group of people. We'll split each session into 2 groups. Even groups go first for 45 minutes. The The odd groups go for the last 45 minutes. People socialize and gather things around you. One thing we're doing is in 2016, last time I organized the PERC, we introduced the idea of a first timers and undergrad session, so that people could get this, have this opportunity. I should have talked more to my colleagues, but have the opportunity to have us as a community welcome you to the fold. I thought by just creating it, they would come, but I think I need to sort of encourage other people to be welcome. One of the things we're doing this year is we are having welcoming ambassador volunteers. These are people that are especially friendly, who have actually are known to be very welcoming to the PR community, to new people into the PR community. And we only have found one so far, but I will say he's the first person that I met at a PERC back in 1997, who was welcoming to me as a first-year graduate student. But great guy, Brad Ambrose, for those of you who know him. So we're still looking for additional people on different walks of life, different things, people that are maybe in the 2-year colleges that have been to PERC and actually have had successful working relationships with PR folks. As I said, I don't know. Okay, once you submit an abstract, if you submit an abstract by the appropriate deadline, you can also submit a 4-page paper. It's really a 5-page paper now. The first page is the title, the author affiliation, abstract. Just looking at some of the comments, sorry. I'm going to turn those chats off. Someone get distracted. Okay, so what happens is, unfortunately, because the APTs are earlier this year and last year, the deadlines are like May 15th to submit the PERC paper. But you submit the PERC paper, it's a 5-page, it's 4 pages of text, which can be talking about projects you've done, things that are in comparison, maybe commentary. We've not had a lot of commentary papers about, but you may say comparison to this, that. We are going to try and convince the editors that we should be able to, that it should allow action research as well as traditional PER research. Again, we have to convince the PERLOC, which is the organizing committee, that this needs to happen. But basically what it is you get this opportunity to write these papers. Once you submit a paper, what that means is you will get 3 papers to review. And again, these are short papers, and you will review them, return them. And the reason you have to we're doing it so early is we instituted last year a double-blind review. And this is so that papers can be reviewed without having the belief that maybe somebody sees your name and says, oh, well, they don't do much, or I know them, and they deserve to get published just because of their name and what they've done in the past, even if the paper sucks. Sorry. But we're doing that, and so anybody can submit an abstract. Anybody can submit a paper. Anybody can submit a breakout session proposal. The breakout session proposal website is going live tonight. To start that, they have a different deadline. They have a deadline in March, and then in May will be the PERC abstracts and paper deadlines. All right, good?
Good. Thank you, Rebecca.
What?
Libby, do you have anything to contribute to the question of what type of papers are accepted to be presented at PERC? In other words, what is PR at PERC?
Double confidential review has changed how people interact with the papers a little bit. It means that because your name is not, Joe Reddish or something, that you don't carry that weight with your paper, which is a good thing. That said, the people who are reviewing the papers are the people who are writing them. So there is no, there's no training involved. There's no bar as a reviewer necessarily. So unfortunately, what that means is that sometimes people write really terrible reviews that are super hurtful or toxic. And sometimes they write the most amazing review you'll ever see. And it is a total crapshoot. We're recording. It's a total random thing, whether you get a good reviewer or not, and whether the advice is even valid or not at this point. So it's kind of an adventure, or the Wild West, or whatever you want to call it. It's not a set thing that you can sort of rely one way or the other way. So that's, I mean, it's a good and bad, right? Because you have graduate students who are learning to write reviews in that process. And that means that if you spent a whole bunch of time writing a paper, you might actually get some terrible reviews. So, you know, I don't know. It's a system that is, you know, designed to be broken all the time, but it's good. I mean, it's good practice. If you think of it more as practice, that's a more positive way of spinning it for everyone. So you get to
I will
practice
say we're
writing
looking-
reviews and practice writing a paper.
I would say we are looking into at least providing guidance, a little bit more guidance to reviewers.
Yeah, and Sherry, you're totally right that there are several like guides to writing good reviews out there, and they're awesome. And like, if everybody did that, it would be an amazing world. But unfortunately, not everyone spends the time to learn how to write a good review. Sorry, Libby, it's your turn.
I don't think I have much on this particular point. I would say what I saw when I was there was it's more like research focused and less practitioner focused in terms of like what is being presented. But because like you heard Rebecca and Abby saying, it's kind of the conference for where undergraduates and graduate students go and kind of get their footing in the community. So it's kind of structured around that. But there's useful things for practitioners, I would say more. I just generally don't give presentations and talks, so I would never be trying to do that. So I'm like, I would dodge that bullet.
So would it be appropriate to the panelists, for instance, as a classroom teacher, I'm mainly a practitioner user PR, and I would like to report some of the results from a conceptual inventory of applied to my class or several of my classes in my school at PERC. Would that be appropriate?
Yes.
Great. We will move on to the next question. How can newbies to PERC feel part of the community? So I guess we started addressing this before. We can develop this more now. Rebecca, you mentioned the ambassador program. Which other ways is PERC trying to be more inclusive and welcoming, etc.?
Well, one thing we're trying to do is, for example, like this, meet with closely related communities that I believe would be nice to bring in kinds of things, you know, to say, hey, we have a lot in common, let's overlap kind of thing. And then the other thing I would say is, I personally have said these things, have heard these things, that there's like this, you have to get in the in crowd. Sort of a cliquey nature is what I've heard. I've heard this comment over and over and over again, or they're my kind of research, they're not interested in it. I started out with astronomy education research for my dissertation, and doing that, I still do some astronomy education research, but it was like, okay, we don't care about you. You're talking about non-technical research. Well, we're working on in pre-service engineers and scientists and physics majors. So it is somewhat of some things like that, but we are opening more up to what, if you're applying the techniques and the things of doing education research, if you're doing it in a consistent manner, if you're doing it following some of the basic guidelines, you know, are you doing the right statistical tests when you're combining them? How are you looking at gains? Are you looking at effect sizes? Different things like that. The thing here is we want, the reason I proposed this title and convinced my friend Mary that we need to have this session was I want PERC and PER to be more welcoming and happier place to visit and be. And not worrying about having to think that people are being disengaged or and feeling marginalized in the community. Because there are members there from the beginning, there are people that have felt marginalized. And once they graduate, they drop out of the community. Maybe they don't come back, or if they do come back, they don't necessarily feel that they're a full member of the community or a real member. That also extends to people like professors of practice, people that are full-time instructors, as you said, practitioners, or two-year college professors. You guys are on the ground. If we want to disseminate our research, we've got to be able to include you and have you aware of what's happening. And so we're trying very hard to make a more welcoming event, I should say. How much more and other parts of that? Am I done at 5?
You're about close to 3.
Okay. So one of the things we're trying to do to welcome people is I and the committee, or my team, our organizing team, is in communication with the PERLOC, which is the basically the elected people by the PR topical groups elect to run basically all the PR topical group activities. And we are in negotiations with PERLOC as well as the AAPT that we want to reduce the costs for first timers to attend the PERC. We want to, we're looking at like a 25% discount off of the rates for charging that to come. We are also trying to provide resources that say, hey, do you need help writing a paper? Here are some resources that might help you write your paper. Not just here's the links to the example, these are papers that are out there, kinds of things like that. As well as providing ways to, as we said, I love your idea about the buddy system. I mean, we're doing the welcoming ambassadors, but we could also have newcomers meet up. I mean, we're all going to do, do something online that allows you to virtually meet up before they actually get to the meeting, kind of thing. Yes. Okay.
We are close to we are getting a little bit short on time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce the total time to 3 minutes for everybody so that we can move on and hopefully we can address more of these if they're missing, if any topic is missing later on altogether. Abby and Libby, would you like to say something on how can newbies feel part of the community? I think you already mentioned some ideas here, but anything else?
Libby, do you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, as someone who isn't normally a part of that community, but went to a conference, like I could see definitely how there could be like perceived an in crowd or, people who are kind of, they already have their connections and communities there, right? So it's much harder to come into those existing communities, especially if those communities aren't in the state where they're looking at like, oh, we might be gaining new members here, or might find new people to kind of help make us have a bigger community, right? So it kind of depends on like the mentality too of what's going on. But having like someone to kind of like a buddy to go show you around or introduce you to people would be good. But it's also, having someone that you actually knows you a little bit is probably more powerful than just some random person assigned. I would also say that if there's a few people who are all new that have organized and know each other in some capacity, that helps because then that you as a group can go around together. So like I think of my e-alliance at AAPT, and like I go and I know I hang out with my e-alliance crowd at AAPT because they're there and we all know each other. And at some point I was new to AAPT and I wormed my way into the TYC community. They were pretty welcoming to new faces showing up, which made that a little easier. But there's that moment in any kind of existing community where you're trying to kind of enter in and get to know the other people that are already there. And that's hard to begin with, but yeah, this one might feel more pronounced maybe than others.
So I'll just add a couple things to that. So I totally resonate with what you're saying, Libby. And the thing about this conference is that it's a smaller group, right? So AAPT can sometimes feel really huge and spread out, and it's across different places. And PERC is like in one place and everybody's there, and there are like certain places where the whole entire conference is in one room. And so what that does is it sort of changes, it makes it feel smaller, and it makes it almost more accessible to introduce yourself to people, but also harder because the people there have these little groups or little pods of people talking. And so it feels like you're inserting yourself. So having a buddy like that, but then the other nice thing is that there's more workshops. And they're in PERC, often there are like panel discussions or workshops or like small groups of poster sessions. So you go in and you're really talking to people in that group, which sort of is a more natural way of like introducing yourself and getting to know people. And then they also have places where everybody's getting dinner or lunch together. And so that sort of is another opportunity to sit next to someone or introduce yourself and be like, can I sit by you? I don't know anybody here, right? And like people, if you say stuff like that, people are all about like, oh yeah, join us, please join us. You know, like I can't imagine a world in which someone's like, nah, we're good, you know, like get out. So yeah, so I think that because it's a smaller group, it can feel more intimidating to try and weasel your way in. But then also at the same time, the smallness creates sort of an intimacy that's a little bit easier to sort of jump in and introduce yourself.
So give it a try. If you're very shy, give it a try. There are also, if the issue is shyness or right that first feeling of is it a group that will welcome me, there can be that. Give it a try. There are both sides.
Can I say one other thing actually? So like Mel on here,
Yeah.
like knows everyone in PER. So like you could, now that he's here, you know what he looks like. You could literally walk up to him and Nana, I'm calling you out, and be like, Mel, I want to meet someone who does this kind of thing. And then I'm putting on the spot, Mel, but I'm pretty sure that he would just be like, yeah, let's go over there and I'll introduce you to 5 people who do this kind of thing, like validation on different, you know, like, or I know someone who wants to do testing reliability and reproducibility at 2-year colleges in this topic. Are you interested in that? Cool, let's go. You know, so, and the same with me and the same with Rebecca, like there's like a few of us who are like, yes, please use us as resources too, right? So if you see me and you're like, oh, that's what her nose looks like from the side, right? That's the comment I got this summer. So a bunch of people were like, oh, your nose looks funny from the side. It's different than what I expected. So yeah, so like you see me and you're like, oh, your nose. And then you can be like, I want to meet these people. And like, that's totally, like, I would be happy to be like, yeah, I know him or I know her or I know them. Let's go chat, right? So that just gives you an automatic in too.
We're still going over the panelists, but I know Krista and I know Mel and perhaps some others have raised their hand already. And would is there any quick comment you would like to make just now?
I just have a procedural question. I know I've submitted 4 different papers to PERC, all before pandemic, all when it wasn't double blind, and they were all rejected. And it was a great learning opportunity for me. But like the last one, I had co-authors on the last 2. And so the last one said that I needed to explain more, but it was limited to 4 pages. And I noticed that last year there were 6 pages, 4 of the actual article, but then, so is that still going to be the case? Because
Yes.
4 pages
Well,
is
it's
really
like 4
hard to,
pages where the title and abstract and the
are
author
separate.
on one page and the references are on another. Used to be we had
That
to have
helps.
everything in that 4 pages. So yes, that is. As for if you get rejected, I know in the past that people are willing to sit down with other people to say, hey, well, let's figure out what if your article is worth anything. Because sometimes you just get a bad reviewer. I mean, I had a paper that a colleague of mine and I submitted, and he got 2 accepts on his review and they decided to reject it. Another colleague plus that colleague and myself were on a 3rd paper. That one had 2 rejections and 1 accepted. And they decided to accept the paper. Which I'm like, what the bleep are you doing?
Is
You
this
think that-
before the blinding because I
Well,
think that's,
everything is before the blinding, yes.
yeah. And I think that process will really help.
Sorry, I just
Right, and
I just
I
want to
think it'll
flag that I
hopefully-
think we're now using double confidential as a way to sort of get away from the blindness is not what we're talking about. So we're gonna use
Okay, I see what you're saying, sorry.
confidential, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. We are going to move to the next question. Why would a TYC, maybe we can answer that with a quick one. Why would a TYC faculty member want to come to PERC?
Because they want to learn more about physics education research, as well as maybe practicing it, or saying, I want to do research on my own students. Is that
Mhm.
an acceptable thing? Or
Because
collect
it's a
data,
place to find collaborators.
to find collaborators, network, share, discuss, things like that.
Abby, Libby?
It's pretty fun sometimes. I have a good time often. I think that covers it for me.
We have several of our participants that answered in the registration form that one of their motivations is they want to start PR, they want to find collaborators, and also that would be a good opportunity as well. Right? So our final question for our panel, and then we open the forum. In what ways does PERLOC and friends perceive useful collaborations with TYC faculty? As partners, or how else? Or is it a top-down view? Is it a horizontal view, a collaboration with partners? How is
I
that?
can't speak for PERLOC because we don't have a quick statement on this kind of thing. We don't have a blanket statement. I can speak for myself. One of the things I shared is there's 3 types of collaboration. I shared this with
Myself, Chris, yes.
Linda and Chris to say, hey, is this the kind of viewpoint you want? So one of the types of partnerships that we'd like to have is, I am currently working on a research project where we are developing a fluids conceptual evaluation. This is you can call it a concept inventory, though there's a whole big, well, we won't talk about that. Anyway, but it's to major IP+ students who are learning fluids, or should learn fluids if they're going to be life science majors. Ironically, it's like 40% of people who take the introductory physics for life science majors course take it at the community college level. So if we are creating an instrument like this, we need to have a truly representative sample, which means we need to have at least 40% of our sample come from the community colleges. So what we are doing, Robert Hobbs just popped into my screen. So Robert was one of the people I talked to and still need to get back in touch with, but working with ways to simplify it to say, okay, we would like you to consider collecting data for us. We have a grant for this. We're willing to pay you to do this, and we are willing to pay your students to do this, to allow us to interview them. And we're running into a lot of troubles with that. So that's one type of collaboration. Another type of collaboration is, I want to do PER. I want to get involved in a PER. I have ideas. I think my ideas are valuable. Where do I go from here? My entire company is designed to do that, because I know that's a need a lot of people have. Is, I want to do something, I think it's a PR project. How do I do this? So you start to see a mentoring relationship start up, and you work together like any good mentoring relationship. And as you proceed in your expertise, the scaffolding comes away. The third kind of partnership is your friends. You meet up at the meeting. You sit down, you're having coffee or whatever, and it's like, I have this idea. And the other person at the table says, wow, that is a great idea. What if we do that and do this? That I've been thinking about for my classes. What do you think about this? And so you start talking about this, and somebody says, I think that would be an IU's proposal. The undergraduate interact, whatever IU stands for. I can't remember off the top of my head. And they said, okay, how do we go about doing this? How do we work together? And there may be one person that's from a 2-year college, and there may be one person that's from a 4-year college. I mean, if you're all 2 years and you all don't know the answer to that, then you find people like me who are resource agents. as well out there, I'll say, okay, I will work for you. This is the amount I charge. It's very reasonable, and get to it. So how do we pull them together? So my thing is, I mean, this is a big disconnect for us because we want to come in and work with you, but we don't want to know, we want to know what you would like from us in return, because I keep hearing this, what do we get? What do we want? So I'm like going, well, we're paying you, which is if we have a grant, we can pay you, but not that it's just, that's a comment. I was told I shouldn't say that comment, but it's just like, it represents, I'm going to do my more understanding. So to me, my question to all of you is, if you would like to participate in a PER project with a PER four-year college person, what kind of partnership do you want? What kind of things would you like to get involved with? And what do you perceive your role being in the project? So that's my challenge to you guys. All right, now to the others. Abby and Libby.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll defer to Abby. Think she's got a lot of good ideas about this.
I lost track of the question, and I don't know, Robert's been holding his hand up for a really long time, so I feel
No,
like you should-
Rob, would you like to say something on that respect? So this question is about what is the view that PERC, PERLOC, etc. have of what this collaboration with two TYCs, what do you think collaboration means for them? How do they perceive this collaboration, or the PERC community, etc.? Right, as partners, as a horizontal partner collaboration, or is it a top-down thing? How is this collaboration perceived?
Okay.
And
Wait, okay, so Robert, I'm just gonna say something really quick and then it's your turn, okay? So my perception is that almost every single time, not all, but every single, let's say 80% of the time I am solicited to do research as a PER researcher in a two-year college. It is a top-down, we don't want you, we don't want your opinion or your expertise. In fact, do you even have expertise? We just want to record your students and get the info from you. And it is so insulting. And and people, and I've actually, because I know some of these people personally, and I really respect their work, I've reached out and I've said, hey, this is pretty insulting the way that this was presented to me. And they've been like, oh, whoops, sorry. Like very little, real awareness of what kind of positioning they're putting themselves as the person of power and knowledge, and that you're just someone they're going to use. And so, but there are people, in fact, one of them, Mel, is in this room right now, who actually really do respect and are aware of the expertise in this group right here. We have so many smart, amazing experts on how to teach two-year college students and who our students are and what they need. And that is something every single one of you should be proud of, and hold your head high, and not let the PER community do that to you. So that's what I'll say for now. Okay. It shouldn't be a mentorship. It's a partnership, because you all are.
That's why I said that's a third type of thing, if you want to have it be a partnership.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying mentorship is also a type of relationship if you're wanting to learn how to do PER research. I mean, you obviously know how to do it because you got to, you've got plenty of training in it. But there are people out there.
The forum is officially open to everyone. Robert, you've had your hand up. Please speak up. Feel free. Feel welcome. Oh, you're mute.
I keep making little sounds like I'm going to speak and nobody knows that. Thank you. I'm especially glad that Abby went first, because part of my observation was in contrast exactly to what she identified. And that is that if all of the research, Rebecca's statistic about the 40% is really significant. If all the research is then only done in places with the company of folks like Abby, then you have a population of students that is already selectively biased. You're not testing your basic TYC faculty, TYC student. And so it is incumbent on the community, the whole PERC community, whether TYC, 4-year, whatever, that we make inroads into a broader part of that community. And that's going to be a challenge. And if you think that getting people who have professional experience that you are treating like just objects is insulting, getting the rest of those people to come on board is going to be even more challenging. And one of the points that I wanted to make about that is that those of us who are TYC faculty who do have some kind of connection to this and interest in this can help put the researchers, whether ourselves or others, in contact with our colleagues who are not necessarily PER trained, interested, or whatever, so that we get a broader population of students with whom we can test our various hypotheses, methods, curricula, et cetera, assessments, and so on. But it is really, it really has to be done in the context of the situation that Abby was so well describing. Yeah, so that was my bit.
That brings me a lot to think about this, because I am worried about this issue and trying to grasp it. As Linda and Chris can say, I've been sending out emails going, okay, this is what I think you're saying. Is this what, how does this fit in? And you want to take your hand down, Rob? Robert, your hand is still up. Thank you. Anyway, what I was going to say is, we're not trying to insult you by saying, oh, we have this grant, we have this money, we want to do this project. One thing we did do, and I believe Rob was one of the people we talked with, is we tried to recruit people in before we applied for the grant into this major project. And we were willing to work with them to see, you know, who wants to give input, do things like that. What can you bring to the project? But I think it is right. One of the feedback we did get from 2-year college folks on getting this data is we don't have time to do it. We don't have time to advertise it. So we create a 1-minute video that they share before class. We say, this is materials you put up on your LMS. This is stuff that you work. Biggest hurdle we're getting into is my co-Is / lead PI is like, if they don't know how to do IRB, and the faculty are not familiar with, then we don't want to even try and get them involved. And I'm like, you know, and a lot of you might be going, what is IRB? IRB is Institutional Review Board. You probably, do the community colleges have the Institutional Review Boards? I mean, I know some do, but do they
We
all?
have extensive IRB requirements.
I think it depends on the 2-year college. Some have a really comprehensive IRB office, others don't have anyone. So that's another issue to consider, right? That even if somebody's interested and they have some expertise, they may not necessarily have the resources at their institution to participate.
One thing can I share that with a situation we talked about, Rob and then Robert, sorry. So Robert and I talked to Robert about becoming a fluids conceptual evaluation interview site for his students to participate in our interview protocols. And one of the things he had said is, we don't have, our IRB person has been, IRB person is, I don't remember what the whole situation was, but basically you were out of luck with IRB. So what I did is we found a way around that. So we went in, because he said that specifically, I went in and we found that you can have an IRB association agreement, where if your IRB or somebody just signs off, then the person at your institution is covered by the IRB at the University of New Hampshire. And it's a rather straightforward thing. Now, some universities do require, like Mel, I think at Chicago State, your institution is requiring a full IRB. You should mute it, Mel.
Thank you, Rebecca. We would like to hear, we are in our five last minutes. We'd like to hear a bit from others, other voices, anybody, everybody, someone, other collaborations, other comments. to this discussion? Personal experiences, expectations?
I guess maybe I can say something because I just mentioned something on the chat. I mean, the PERC conference itself is great, and as I was saying, I liked attending some of the meetings because you saw these plenary speakers that were awesome, but it just extends for too long if you're going for a summer AAPT. You've already been there for 3 days, and then you're going to add 2 other days. Unless you have a very great incentive to stay there for 2 more days. And you're spending more money, you know, and if your money is limited to this amount of days, there's just no reason why you should stay. I mean, for me, that's what I would say. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of a more intense, some of those sessions on PER are more intense there, but for me, I would have had enough of the PER for me to say I'm full.
It's an important issue.
For the first time, the last few years ago, they started offering a discount. I'm reading the comments as well. Discount rates for student participants. We'd also like to see if, working with the optics folks, if there's something we can do to do a sort of a partnership rate to reduce the costs. The time, unfortunately, I mean, I saw that you guys are having this tandem conference. I'm like, we are not going to be able to compete. They're not going to want to stay there for 2 more days. And so, yes, we are aware of this issue. Oftentimes people leave after the first night. I'm not saying they should, but we do know that they do leave. So they present their poster so they can submit their paper. But yeah, or they leave at, say, we have parallel sessions in the morning, we have these things happening. They go through that and then they have a chance to leave early. We are planning on recording the plenaries so that they can be on the website.
Thank you, Rebecca. We are in the last 2 minutes, and I just wanted to say we read the motivation from many of the registrants here, and I think we've addressed most of the items that people mentioned, their motivation to find a reason to attend PERC, or a meaningful connection, to learn what's new about PERC, information, what can be presented, publication guidelines, learn how to find collaborators to form connections. So some of these things we addressed. There are a few of our participants that wrote, I'm searching for people who would like to work on this or on that in our registration form. So we would like to say that we Optics have been brainstorming ways to connect people that have common interests in research as well, so that they can at least exchange emails, know who they are, start a collaboration group. We may not have a lot of time on that to explain that, but this is something that's coming up. Chris, do you want to say add something about this? It's through the mentorship
Sure.
group.
Yes, so we have a mentoring program at Optics that we're starting up, and one of the ways we're envisioning it is less of a mentorship and more of a learning community or a community of practice. So a small group of 3 to 5 people who want to work on a topic together, and this could be a research topic. It might be something simpler, like I want to rewrite this lab and I want to talk to some other people about it. But the idea is to connect people so that we're less isolated. And this is built off of the E-Alliance project that Libby had mentioned earlier. So if you want to know more, go to our website and look at the mentoring program.
Thank you for your participation. To everyone, this is done for you, for our community, for our TUSC community. We also want to acknowledge that Optics and these events are funded by the National Science Foundation grant number 2212807.
I included my email on the chat. If you guys have any questions or any things you would like to see, can I do this for PERC? Would this be appropriate? What do you think?
Very
Go
good.
ahead. Send me an email.
Thank you, Glenda.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.